For high-income professionals, personal finance can be a massive and dangerous pitfall that really gets you in a lot of trouble. First off, I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. My audience is high-income professionals and entrepreneurs, people making six figures or better, folks who are earning a high amount of income relative to the United States. Now, of course, if you're making $100,000 a year and you live in the middle of New York, you're in a tough situation. Financially, you don't have enough money to pay the bills, especially if you've got a family. But you're going to start looking for solutions. You're going to go online. You're going to find Susie Orman. You're going to find Dave Ramsey. You're going to find a bunch of personal finance advice, but listen carefully, very often tailored to the average or typical American. If you look at the average American salary nationwide, it is $55,000 a year. That's a family, by the way. That's not an individual. That's a family. And if you're making $100,000, you're suddenly in a different category of need than those individuals. Well, I was cleaning up my office today and I found cash flow statements from 2007. In fact, this binder is titled Personal Financial Plan. And so this is a report I put together for myself first and then used with clients called a Personal Financial Plan. I see materials in here from 2001. There's a lot of details about self-evaluation. One of the challenges that high-income professionals have is that when they go online or they go to a CFP, very often those individuals have their personal financial plan in order and they have their goals in order, and you don't. And you're starting to listen to advice from people who have their own interests in mind. One such example is when you're sitting down with a real estate person talking about what your home is worth and what your goals are. Very often their mindset is to sell the house. When you talk with a banker is going to be looking more at your personal loans and your mortgages. They don't care about your consumer debt. They care about your mortgages. Do you qualify for a mortgage to refinance maybe and cash out of your equity in your home? The CFP is going to look at a more broad scope, and they're going to look at your life decisions. They're going to look at your retirement primarily, but what are some of the life decisions? What are some of the goals and objectives you have as an individual? These things all matter. They really do all matter, but it's very important that you understand that the advice that you get is going to be not from your personal perspective. They don't know all your details. It is going to be from the perspective of the expert, the person who looks at things from their point of view, especially if they're a commissioned salesperson in that particular marketplace. Now, the reason this is important to understand is because once you understand it, you can simply set up for yourself a personal financial plan. And this personal financial plan is going to look to do what's most important, cultivate assets that cash flow. The more assets you can put on your books, the more that those assets cash flow over the cost of maintaining that asset. Now, again, assets can be stocks, they can be bonds, they can be real estate, they can be intellectual property, they can be 1,000 different things. As long as the maintenance of those assets produces more free net cash flow, then you're good to go. You're always going to have it work out. Now, the reason I mentioned self-assessments in my binder here actually has personality strengths and career needs. These are career-based because the majority of my income has been through some kind of active skill. These are listing out the characteristics of me as an individual because you need to earn within your personality. So if you have a very outgoing personality, maybe the one career is going to do better than another. If you have an introspective personality, maybe you're going to spend more time in a different area. Now, I'm flipping through here. I see stuff from 2001. I see stuff from 2014. I see stuff through all notes from events and activities, and really these little action plans. The key is that your personal financial plan or your family financial plan is going to take into consideration the aspects that makes your life more fulfilling. Just having money doesn't make you happy. It doesn't really get you to where you want to be. In fact, I'm looking through here and I see this budget has $15,000 a month based on the income. The income is $15,000. It carefully divides up all the money. But, in hindsight, I know that right after this thing was printed out, there was a bunch of things that came up, and that plan certainly changed. So you're not looking for a plan that you're going to create once and you're going to stick with it forever. It is a plan that you really want. Oh, so here, for example, 2007, my salary target was $72,000 a month. So the business to pay me $72,000 a month. And guess what, folks? I didn't make it. I only made $18,000. So if I budgeted everything based on 72 and I had made expenditures based on 72, then in 2007, this is May 2007, I'd have been below my numbers. Now, if I was in the mortgage industry, which I was not, if I was in the mortgage industry though, and even if I was making 72, this 2007 is right before 2008 when the mortgage market crashed and everything fell back. There was a big mess. Do you see what I'm saying here? See, your plan isn't a one-time plan. And in fact, it's better to discover the methodology of developing a plan that aligns your finances to the outcomes you desire than it is to have the actual plan itself. So if you're finally going to get your money together, you've been earning a good income by everybody else's standards, but you still feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck. For example, somebody making $100,000 in Silicon Valley. Maybe you just got out of college. Maybe you've been out of college for a while. You're making $180,000. Silicon Valley is where they moved you to. You were expecting to jump up there with the $300,000 to $500,000 a year like those IT people, but you're not in the IT industry. So how do you make that money go? Well, you could stretch it. You could be frugal. But then again, how you apply that capital, how you apply that income matters more in the outcome of your growth than actually how much money you earn. See, it doesn't matter how much you earn. It's how much net free cash flow you have left over. And then how do you apply that cash flow? Now, I'm looking through here. I'm seeing in 2006, there was some debt and some bank charges and stuff here, some interest being paid. That was not a good year for me. So the year 2007 was a great year. There's a lot of reasons, but 2007 was a great year. But 2006, kind of a crappy year. I'm looking here. My monthly was only about $5,000 or $6,000. And I'm remembering back, there were a few months where it was probably zero. It was probably definitely zero income. Now, of course, income doesn't matter. Income doesn't matter. It is your free net cash flow that matters. Because it is possible for you to have a positive cash flow, but zero income. It is possible for you to have a high income and a negative cash flow. There are all kinds of combinations that can happen for no fault of your own. But again, knowing how to develop that financial plan quickly and easily. I'm flipping through here. I see my copies of tax forms. Your tax situation is so important because what if at the end of the year you owe way more money than you expected? That's a problem. Now, a lot of folks are going to get recommendations. Well, first off, here's a recommendation you'll never see for the average and typical people. They'll never recommend to use accounting software when tracking and measuring your expenses. A lot of these financial gurus, they know if you use financial software, not just some spreadsheet, not just some pack of napkins or fancy envelopes. Again, they're talking to the average person. They're talking to the everybody crowd. I speak with specific high-income professionals and entrepreneurs. When you use an accounting package, it answers 90% of the questions that you have. What do you want to know what free cash flow is? You run a report. If you do your reconciles properly and you have somebody supporting you and helping you with these things, you run your free net cash flow, it'll give you a number that is close to accurate and you can work on there. When you look at your income sources, you can optimize income sources because of project-based accounting. If you're in a business, a project-based accounting will let you know which projects are profitable than others. You can actually set that up so that the projects have categories and then the categories have income and expense factors, and ultimately you can start to optimize. There's also the need for your career development beyond just that next certification. Many certifications require additional time in the marketplace, additional credits in education. Well, you go out and get your big certification and then you find out you have another $3,000 to $5,000 a year in expenses associated with continuing education, and that certification got you a higher position, but it didn't get you extra money to pay for this to maintain the certification. And so now you've got not only the time it takes to maintain certification, because you might have to take time off of work, but you also have the actual expenses. How do you recover those costs? How do you structure your approach? This all goes in your plan. How do you structure your approach so that you can reduce or minimize those costs, and maybe even generate additional income as you refine yourself as the asset that cash flows? See, that little investment in yourself and education turns around into an additional income. And well, you know, folks, there's so much stuff in this program that I have here now. Now, if you know my programs, they're not fancy books written. They are literally action plans, focused work. They are meant to sit down with clients and go over a specific plan, and we'll tailor it to their needs. But I'll tell you what, if I had 18 people raise their hand, if 18 folks raise their hand and say they're interested in going over the personal finance plan for high-income professionals and entrepreneurs, I'll walk you through this plan. I actually have an instructional manual, which we'll get you a manuscript of, and there's a number of goal-setting elements that are in here, because see, your plan has to facilitate something of value. You can get a financial plan from any certified financial planner. Just they'll punch your numbers in the computer, they'll spit all those numbers out, and you'll have the numbers, and then you still won't have a clue what's going on. A real personal financial plan addresses where you want to be in life. What is it that you want to do? What are you going to do with the assets? Why are you going to have these assets? You know, a lot of people have mindset challenges where they don't believe they deserve to earn. Folks, when I was 18, 19 years old and I was making really, really good money, today what would be six figures, there's a lot of people that told me I need to stop what I was doing and get a job. I was running a business with employees. And they said, look, when are you going to get a real job? My mother was all over me. When are you going to get a real job? Oh, you know, this is going to have problems. Well, eventually everything has a problem. The challenge is, how do you address the problem? I believe a written plan. Now, it's not going to be solid. Again, you're going to write the plan, you're going to rewrite the plan, you're going to adjust the plan, you're going to implement the plan, you're going to have parts of the plan just not work, and then you're going to get back. The plan is a guidebook to get you back on track when the economy falls together in 2008. In 2006, I made nearly nothing. 2007, the money ramped back up. 2008, I was back on track. Everybody else was having problems. I was back on track because I helped my clients create hundreds of millions of dollars in new business. Now, I've got the paper that's right in front of me now, which is an outline of the business personal planning, and that's what this binder really is doing for me, is from November 2006. One of the sheets over here says time value and labor value of money. Okay, so I was calculating the actual time value and labor value of my activities. You know, if I earn $1, am I making the dollar work for me? December 2012. So I can show you an active plan. I can show you the steps that have been taken. I can show you how we set up the accounting software, how we go through and we have structure, whether it's business structure or it's how you're organizing different types of accounts. And I can walk through these details. Of course, you'll have to raise your hand and ask questions. And of course, you can ask questions even if you don't want to sit down and go through these in detail. You can simply just ask questions for clarification. But you can ask your questions. And then of those who ask their questions, I'll send out a note later when we have the 18 individuals, and we'll go through a program where we'll come out the other end with your own personal financial plan. Now, of course, if you have a family, it's got to be a family financial plan. If you got a business financial plan. But there's always a foundation somewhere of your personal plan. And it might be setting aside money for a rainy day. It might be setting aside money for, a long-term goal or a vacation or something. It doesn't really matter as long as it's something that you want. It could be setting aside money so that you could be more charitable, which I'd recommend, by the way. Be more charitable now, and you'll have more money to be more charitable later. But ultimately, I think I can make a huge difference. In fact, I know I can make a huge difference in your ability to keep more of the income you're producing and then having that income create more income for you. It's a multiplier effect. I've got the experience doing it. I've done this with clients a number of times. If there's a handful of folks, and I'm, some of these goals I didn't meet. Some of these goals I didn't meet. I'm getting closer. One of these goals said I was going to be 165 pounds, and I was 190 pounds at the time I set the goal. I'm 170 something now. But look, this is how this stuff works. In fact, we'll even set up some audacious goals that you might be frankly embarrassed to tell people about, but I'll show you how those big goals will actually lead you towards achievement, outcomes, and results that you're looking for. So this has been a little bit about the value of a personal financial plan, how it can help you build your wealth, how it can help you leverage the assets you already have. If you have questions about this or anything else we cover, I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. We have a newsletter at www.sustainablewealthsecrets.com. And of course, you go to the contact page, send a fax, send me a letter. I prefer that way. I will answer all your questions either in another podcast or an article on the site, but I'll make sure if you leave your contact information that we get you an answer to your question. And then if you're seriously interested in building your own financial plan, I'll introduce you to some resources. I'll introduce you to some concepts and ideas that work for high-income professionals and entrepreneurs. If that's of interest to you, make sure that you just let me know when you ask a question. Okay, so I'll answer your questions. And then if you're interested in additional resources, I don't have to do this program. I'm just happen to be refreshing my own plan here. But ultimately, just raise your hand and say, hey, Justin, I'm interested in my own personal financial plan. Because your personal financial plan, done the right way, will transform your ability to achieve. It will put you in a position where you're going to be more valuable in the marketplace, where you're going to have better connections and opportunities, where you're going to have more assets to cash flow, and you're going to be in a position where you can handle just pretty much any economic challenge. And then if you're in a situation now where you're a little stressed, it'll help you recover quickly. Again, thanks for listening. I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets.